seconds.
Thank you and welcome back. Once again, I'm Jordan, and we switched buildings now, and we are here with a great designer. She's here to be able to help us to share some design resources. You know, how can you put some things into your showroom, different resources to be able to help you. She's an expert at this. Sadie, we're so glad you're here. This is Sadie Beachy from S. Flynn Designs, and she has a lot to share with us this morning.
Yes, so like you said, I'm Sadie, and I'm just going to go over trends we're seeing in the interior design world, and then narrow it down even more into how that goes down into furniture design. So I thought it'd be good to introduce myself a little bit more. My name is Sadie, and I, along with my husband, own a design firm, S. Flynn Designs. I've been in the industry for 10 years, and I love what I do. So let's just jump in again with the overarching themes we're seeing in the interior design world. So first thing that kind of transcends everything is we're seeing a nod back to the basics. So just stripped down elements. And this means raw elements that you see kind of naturally derived in nature. So natural stones, a lot of marbles, you'll see materials are honed, they're matte, they're not glossy, just the natural look that you kind of see out in nature. Same thing in tile. We're seeing return to the basics on how tile was made. So this is, you know, handmade, set out in the sun to dry. It leaves imperfect shapes, but when it's installed, you see a lot of rich texture. And you can see in some of the example images we have in the tile and the backsplash and bathroom showers, you're getting, it's just a simple material, but a lot of rich texture. And another thing that we're seeing in the woods, this is everything from flooring to cabinets, furniture, your beams, it's all stripped down, wood in its natural elements. So oak, we're just want to see the pretty grains of oak. And you can see that as technology has progressed, the industry has learned how to fight the natural yellowing process that happens to oak and pine, and we're able to now just finish it in a very pretty look. It just kind of looks like wood in its natural state. So that's, you know, a really strong trend we're seeing coming in everywhere that you're, you know, like I said, cabinets, beams, doors, trim, wood flooring. That's a really strong trend we're seeing. And in terms of color, this kind of goes along with the natural wood tones. We're seeing a lot of warm colors come in. So gray and cool tones have been very popular, but now you're going to see a move towards warm creams and tans, warm whites. So kind of a return to the browns. So be looking, you know, for that trend to kind of come in strong. We're mixing a lot of metals. I think the fear is everything has to match, but right now we're seeing a lot of mixed metals, you know, different lighting hardware, different cabinet hardware, your door hardware throughout your house. Just feel free to mix metals, but you're going to see that they're still stripped down too. So cold and heat rolled steel just with a matte finish, matte blacks, nickels, everything just a real natural element. And even gold we're seeing, but it's not the shiny gold from the 90s. It's usually brushed and just stripped down, a real simple, pretty element. Textiles, we're seeing a lot of muted colors, again, naturally derived materials. So jute, wool, cotton, anything found in nature, not too bold. A stonewash look is really popular right now, so it's just a lived-in look. And you can see this in rugs too. The rugs, vintage rugs are really popular. Wool rugs that are made new, but they look worn in and old, a vintage look to them. So that's kind of what we're seeing in textiles. And then a specific shape I wanted to touch on that I'll dive deeper into when it comes to furniture design is the curve. So you'll see this in arched doors, barrel vaulted ceilings, even the edge of countertops. You know, square has been really popular, but we're now starting to see more bull nose come in. So I think the curve and round shape is something that's coming in pretty strong that you'll want to keep your eye on. And lastly, down to home accessories, which is helpful just in your showroom to know. Again, taking a turn towards the basics. So jute wrapped glasses. Think even colonial objects like pewter, wooden spoons, marble, mortar, and pestles. We're using reclaimed and found objects to style with. So just a lot of natural return to the basic elements. So when thinking about all this, how do we condense this down into furniture? Again, these are the styles that we're seeing coming in and that we feel the next generation wants to see. So I wanted to kind of rabbit trail just a little bit on the next generation and then kind of pull it all together for what it means in specifically furniture design. So speaking to the next generation, I thought I could provide you with some good insight since I am that next generation. So I'm of the millennial generation. Older members of this generation are now at the point where they have the money to purchase and buy the high quality items and furniture. The younger members of this generation are getting there. And I think there's a misconception out there that this generation wants things right away. This is why we love Amazon Prime, we like IKEA. While that's not necessarily wrong, we don't mind waiting for quality pieces. If it's something we love, it's a custom piece we made, I think there's a place for that in this next generation. So I don't want people to think that you have to have a huge inventory or back stock. You know, we don't mind waiting on the custom good, long lead time. That's not something that bothers us. We do love Amazon Prime and IKEA, mostly IKEA because we can't afford the heirloom pieces yet, but that's coming in this generation. So I just wanted to make sure, you know, that I kind of set it straight for this generation. Long lead times and having to wait isn't something that bothers us at all. But I say this lightly, our generation isn't necessarily interested in the heirloom pieces. And I know that that's been a wonderful sales tactic for the current generation, and that generation is still buying. But I just wanted to be honest with you, so as you think forward, you know, how you market to the next generation, that sales tactic isn't necessarily what we're looking for. We've grown up with so many influence and ideas. We're the most marketed to generation. We just want something that looks cool, is comfortable, and is good quality. We're a very educated buyer, so we've seen all these styles and we know what we want. So I hope that's helpful as you think, you know, how do I reach to that next generation? Because I think the money is there, and we're going to be excited to buy your products that you have. So that was a rabbit trail, but I wanted to take everything I said about what we're seeing in the interior design world and then kind of hone it down specifically into furniture design. So again, we're thinking stripped down, raw, simple. That's the overarching theme. When it comes to wood tones, like I said, think of wood in its natural state. Oak, pieces that look like they have no stain or finish on them at all. Matte finishes, not real glossy or shiny. Think warm tones. It's time to move away from the grays and gray stains. Just try to get the wood in its natural state. Don't let it yellow and orange, just strip down natural. Through the show, I've seen a lot of pretty caramels, some cappuccinos, and that's the right direction to head for this next generation. When it comes to shape and design, just keep it simple. Nothing ornate, less is more. No inlays, added decorative pieces. For example, the clawfoot table. I know that had its place in the design world. I'm sure it made you lots of money and probably still is. And I think that generation is still out there. I'm not saying get rid of that. But for the next generation, we don't want decorative pieces like that. We just want it simple, beauty of the wood, and nothing too ornate. When it comes to textiles too, so living room pieces or dining room furniture, think of, again, stripped down, muted colors, leathers that are worn, like I said, stone-washed linens. And something else interesting that we're seeing is a lot of caning coming in or woven leather pieces. So, you know, what does that mean for hardwood furniture? Maybe the fronts of your cabinet doors are caning, and I have some example pictures of that we're seeing come in. And then, like I mentioned before, the curve is something really hot in the interior design world that I'm seeing. So specifically for furniture, this means, you know, rounded living room chairs, armoires and dressers with arched doors, coffee tables that have bull-nosed edges, but even pushing the curve even more in the limits of wood. We're seeing bent wood. So push the limits there. And you're seeing tables and chairs with legs that are tapered, nod back to the mid-century curve, mid-century modern, pieces. So that's just some examples of the curve, but I think that's something I would keep my eye on and kind of watch how that influence is coming in. So I know I just threw a lot at you. I hope that you found this helpful, you know, what we're seeing trends, what the next generation wants, and I just wanted to condense it for you with some simple takeaways. So number one, keep the design stripped down and simple. Number two, just let the natural beauty of the material you're using speak for itself. Don't overstain or over gloss or finish these pieces. Just let the natural beauty of the material you're using stand for itself. And then just thinking about a return to the basics. So caning is an example of that. And then consider adding in other naturally derived materials. So worn leathers, natural stoned, like Carrara marble, raw metals that are brushed or have a matte finish to them. And then 5, I would just keep your eye on that design trend that's the curve and think of simple ways to introduce it. So there you go. That was a long spiel, but again, I hope you found it helpful, and I love what I do. So if you have any questions or would like further help on design assistance or anything, we are very active on Instagram and can be easily found through our website, which is sflynndesigns.com.
Wow, Sadie, that was incredible.
That was a lot of information.
And I just found myself, just as I was listening there, just processing everything that you're saying there. One of the questions that I was thinking about, and I don't know if those at home are thinking this as well, as that homeowner has maybe previously invested in maybe some bold colors, some different things like that, how do they maximize that investment as this trend is moving towards more natural, softer tones?
Sure. And there's always, with wood tones, and I always kind of say whatever you have in your house, work with it, or whatever, the expensive pieces you have, work with that natural thing. We're not going to fight it, but there are certain neutrals that just pair well with wood tones. So your really warm wood tones just go really nice with softer cream colors. And that's why grays and whites can be so hard, because the natural color of the wood reflects off of it. So you can buy a gray and all of a sudden it looks purple. There are specific neutrals that you can use that just pair really nice with some of your wood pieces.
Good. Okay. And it's interesting with furniture, it's not like we have to switch everything in our showroom to these new colors. It's now we're starting to introduce them.
Yes.
We're making sure that we're hitting those new elements.
Yes, absolutely.
Adding those pieces.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Well, we really appreciate your time today, Sadie.
Sure.
Very helpful. We're going to be looking next. We're going to be looking at some ways to be able to make your showroom pop. We've got a great segment coming up. We'll be back in just a moment. So we'll be back. Thank you.